Alright everybody, I figure I've spent the last week grilling other people's homes at random. Figure I'd take a break, and I'm going to actually give you guys a tour of my first house, Daggerfall Overlook, as I have it decorated. So here's what it looks like here in the entry. I didn't do a whole lot in terms of changing the default trees and rocks. I did add a few flowers. These grandmother hibiscus you see kind of spotting the courtyard. And I've got some wedding blossoms of both colors as well. We're going to go into my tower first, have a little look around here. So I've put my smuggler here in the corner with a lockbox, a scale, and then a pile of coins. Fairly basic. I put a lamp up here, just to light the entrance to the top of the tower here. The lamp casts a really interesting diamond-shaped shadow. And up here on the top of the tower, I've got a kind of a Dark Brotherhood kind of area set up with these Dark Brotherhood sanctuary sconces, candles of silence, kind of the ledgers and the key, and the blade of woe and a note there, and brazier, little sitting area, and the order hour carpet here. Not anything too extravagant here. Just kind of a nice, neat little, this is my Dark Brotherhood, this is where I go to plot my murders and whatnot. And over here in my stable, I've done a little effect there with the skull. I put a dream shard behind it to give it a blue glow and lights the top of that stable up kind of nicely. And we've got the statue here and the blue wedding blossoms, kind of giving that some light and a little bit of highlight. And I've got my fleet of trusty mounts here. And I've got my merchant with a cart with some goods in it there. Nice little backpack. And of course my banker with his chest, presumably full of all my goodies that I've stored away and kept hidden from the public for years and years and years. Dueling banner here. And in the garage area, as I like to call it, you can see I've added a second floor. In the base floor, I've set up a pretty standard crafting area. All the appropriate signs over the appropriate stations. Station appropriate decorations near each station as well. Little stool to sit at when using the cooking fire. I mean, you can't actually stay in the stool and be using the cooking fire, but it's kind of a neat thought anyway. And of course, blacksmithing station, woodworking, and clothing. So we'll head upstairs now to the upper area. Originally, I had a target skeleton kind of hanging out up here. This was kind of like my little fight training area sort of thing. I took the training skeleton out because the training skeleton did not play well with this flooring that I added up here. He would frequently break, and he'd have to be replaced in order to actually be able to use him. So I nixed him, but I left the rest of the decorations the same. Got an Argonian totem with a snake on the wall there. Hanging from the kind of archway here, we've got this wood elf tapestry. A little bar right here, a blade of woe through the apple. And the room is lined with various bounty sheets. And we've got these stones set into the wall to give it a kind of a neat yellowish light up here. And that's all that's going on up here. Nothing too extravagant. I like to keep things pretty basic. I like to do things nicely and do things with thought, but I don't do anything, generally speaking, too extravagant. Leastways I didn't here in this first house. So we'll hop down. Let me see here, I've got this wolf statue here, kind of guarding the doorway, and this headless statue guy here, and the Azura statue here. And if we look up on my wall, I've got a Ysgramor statue up on the wall there. That's not a spot that's really accessible, but it's a nice spot for use grimoire. And some Khajiit spikes lining my wall as well. And you'll also notice I have banners spotting some of the voids in the wall all through the outer courtyard here. I do like my banners. You notice I've got my my busts displayed throughout the courtyard. On pedestals and on cornerstones, and as we make our way over to the wall, you can see in the distance there I've got some across the outer wall as well, leading out to the ocean. And I've got the Grave Watcher statue here on the fountain. He works pretty well. His stone color isn't a perfect match, but he does look like he belongs. And here I've got these Argonian Graves sticks with Hecatomb skulls on top of them to give kind of a light and kind of lure us out to this area. Nice little ramp up. And of course a diving board. So if you ever happen to be visiting this house and you come out to this diving board, remember that if someone has a diving board, it's rude not to jump. So if you happen to visit, be sure to jump off there. For the sake of the tour, I'm not going to jump off here right now. I do have a bucket hanging from my my diving board, which you see hanging down there. I have it hanging from the diving board simply because I couldn't find anywhere else where that bucket on a really, really long rope really went. And I got a sky shard placed out there on a rock, which you can theoretically get to. If you're not careful, though, you will die to slaughterfish attempting it. And you see here, we've got the busts on the wall, as mentioned before. One of these busts has a bit of a running joke going on. As you venture through my different houses in time, I will show them all to you. You're going to notice there's one bust in particular that I do something a little bit odd with. Maybe you saw it there in that lineup of busts, maybe you didn't. But you see they do that same thing in every single house. Well, that's pretty much it for the outside. It's, you know, it's pretty basic, nothing really unexpected, but it does look really nice. And we'll head on to the inside now. And again, we have a pretty basic entryway. We've got a nice tapestry greeting us, and we've got this kind of rustic carpet here. A bench with just a letter on it. Just kind of gives a sense of you know, kind of life here. Something was going on when someone left a note here on the bench. Red Guard Baroque vase here, another one here, just a nice little accent item. Paintings on the wall, another bench, torches. Not a lot going on in the entryway. We come into the dining room here. I've got the corners. In each corner I have a large jar with a grandmother hibiscus in it. I've got some wrought iron Breton chandeliers in the ceiling. And I've got tables set up, laid out with food and chairs and a carpet under each. Everything's all straight and boxy and not super creative, but, you know, neatly done. And we've got on the hutch here, we've got a bottle of wine sitting there on the edge, some cups sitting there at the top part, decanter there, some plates stacked up, cheese cutter. You see I opted throughout this house quite a bit for these high elf braziers. You will say, well, this is a Breton house, why are we using high elf? Well, I pillaged some high elves, stole their braziers. Don't worry about it. I'm using them because they put off a really nice amount of light, and I feel that they work really well in stone houses, just visually. You can really tell in my study / library over here just how good the light they put off actually is, because they're really pretty much the sole light here, with the exception of no exceptions. They are the sole light in this room, and they provide a really nice amount of light. So in here, you'll notice that I do have stuff on some bookshelves. These are all, you know, normally empty bookshelves. These are all individually placed books. Yes, they are very messy, sloppy, but carefully so. You don't really see any books floating. You see, stuff leaning believably. Although, let's just put it this way: my librarian just sucks at organization. So that's pretty much it. There's books on the shelves, but beyond that, the organization's terrible. But you can actually read each of these books, which was actually the hardest part in placing them, is that when they're set nicely into the shelves, the books actually don't, and I said I don't have one floating, but that one actually is, all the books on that shelf are floating. I hate myself right now. Anyways, if the books are set all the way into the shelf, you actually can't target them to use them, which is a slight annoyance. And another thing too is, like, if you guys stand most of these books up on their side, they actually clip with either the top or bottom shelf, and that doesn't work either, so the shelves end up being too small. Which is why you see them placed the way that they are. Excuse me there. And this shelf here is mostly empty, just a inkwell and a feather placed on them. And I have this slanted desk here with a matching chair. So my throne room here, we've got this kind of a tattered blood orc carpet. A couple red guard braziers for some light. And we've got the wedding lanterns. Those are from the Hughesbane achievement vendor. And Nord tapestry up there. And we've got my Maelstrom, veteran Maelstrom bust here. And a couple orc thrones. I've got a fan here. This is clearly the the throne where the more heated monarch gets. Needs to cool off a little bit. This is where the hungry monarch sits. That's why there's a sweet roll, see? And we got a nice ornate chest here to store all the riches that aren't otherwise stored here on the floor. Because, we just leave piles of gold laying around and big old golden skulls where we come from, because, let's face it, we're rich. We own a big old castle and a whole lot of other large properties. Anyway, so we'll head upstairs now. We're going to be heading into what's going to be my favorite room. Not this small room here, but I do like the way I have this room set up. It's a nice little, kind of mini kitchen storage area. It's, staggered shelving. A fun little stack of 10 cups here. And nicely set up barrel racks. But here is actually, this is my favorite room. The wedding lanterns in here work really well. The paintings on the wall are bright and they show really well. The Undaunted banner back there is a nice little backdrop in that direction. You see the Nord banner back in that direction. Tables are set up on some starburst carpets. We got some nice stools for them. And you see various things going on. We got some gems on this side, coins on this side, sweet roll, a couple mugs, some sort of game of some sort, or maybe just a social encounter is going on there. Here we got a big old pile of money in the middle of the table, a couple cups. So this could be a big high stakes poker game going on, perhaps. Here we very clearly have a dice game going on. In our world, we'd probably say it's Yahtzee, and I've cleverly set up a large straight has been rolled. At random times when I'm visiting my own house, I'll actually change a couple die here and there to make other combinations, and sometimes no combination at all. Or I'll drop a die on the floor or do silly things like that just to keep it lively. Not that anybody visits frequently, especially since this is no longer my primary house. Anyway, these die, these are gaming die. They're a purple item. If you're wondering where to get them, they, as far as I know, they can only be stolen. Short of being bought from someone else who stole them from someone. They can be stolen from outlaws. Personally, the best place I found to pickpocket outlaws was Alton Coromont in Shadowfen. That is where I got, I believe, every single one of these. I spent a lot of time over there to get the set of 5. So you might want to search stores for them if you really want them. Otherwise, get your pickpocket skills sharpened up and go lighten the pockets of some outlaws. And we got some beds here. This is where my servants sleep, here and here. There have been a couple of incidences in the castle where we stroll into the throne room in the morning and there's a couple bloodied bodies on the floor of servants who rolled out of bed and, well, they kind of missed their landing a little bit, and so it's caused a little bit higher turnover in the castle than we would like to see, but the high turnover does at least keep wages down, so that's a plus. So having the beds here right next to the the large drop down into the throne room really does save a lot of money in the long run. The downside, though, is when all your servants are dead on the floor, there's no servants left to clean up the servants' corpses, which is really just a nasty mess, and it really sucks having to deal with it. But, you do what you have to do to save money. So anyway, we head into the master bedroom here. I've got a mirror. It's Breton tapestry bows here, which I really need to put some more light in here because it's extremely hard to see in the dark. Another lockbox here. You got a contract or something going on the desk here. Another lockbox of sorts. Some dividers, another mirror. A throne set up for sitting in the room here. And we've got a dark elf bed with red guard pillows inside of a Breton house with an orcish footlocker. Yes, I'm mixing the styles up remorselessly in this house. And don't forget it's on a Khajiit carpet. So just a complete mashup. My story is that I'm a great conqueror. I've conquered all sorts of people, and I've just taken their crap and filled my house with it because that's the way you save money. You take other people's crap and you use it. Don't buy your own crap. Save your gold. Use it for better things. And of course there's a sweet roll here because you never know when you're going to be hungry in bed, and who wants to get out of bed to eat? So put a sweet roll right next to you in bed. It's the way to be. Alright, so that is the upstairs. We'll head now down to the dungeon area, and then from there we'll transition out to the my ocean area. So coming down here, we've got another blood red orc carpet that's a bit tattered. We've got my Doom Wolf kind of greeting us, or perhaps scaring the crap out of us as we turn the corner down to the bottom with his glowing red eyes. Some barrel racks, because need a lot of alcohol stored in the house, and I swear it is in no way part of the reason that servants end up on the throne room floor, I swear. So we got a dragon skull chilling on a table down here, an Argonian relic, some torches. Oh yes, stockades, of course. This is where we keep our prisoners. Usually they just become the new servants when the existing servants fall to the floor, but a lot of them choose death instead. What's the difference? You're going to end up dead either way. So a gibbet here, and another cage there, and our big cage here for people who really annoy us. Or, not really. It's just a big cage. If someone really annoys us, we stick them in the small one. And a Gold Coast Estate keg, because I like to open and close it. Just come in here for hours on end, open and close, open and close. Okay, now I don't really do that, but it is fun to have interactable items anyhow. And a throne here for chilling out. Actually, the story goes, this is where the guard would just kind of relax and keep an eye on things. Not that there's really much to keep an eye on when everything's locked in, tied down, and otherwise incapacitated. So we'll head out to the shore now, and we see that nice tantalizing sky shard there. We've got some crates floating in the water, probably from a shipwreck on the rocks. And we'll head up here onto the dock. We've got some braziers lighting it up. Argonian canopy for Argonians to chill out in. We've got a rope doobobber here for docking things. Brazier here. And we've got some buoys. Got a nice little wood elf canopy here. It's kind of, once I get my boat from the fishing achievement, that'll be docked here in this kind of U-shaped cove I've set up. And this will be the area that, you get onto the boat and off the boat. And so you've got a little bit of cover over your head, so maybe you don't get wet by the rain. Although you just came from the ocean, you're probably already wet, you probably don't care, and also this is not going to protect you. It just looks cool. And some fish here, of course, probably caught by the Khajiit that presumably lives in this little Khajiit tent here. So that's it. As I said, oh, of course, pirate banners. Don't forget those. Like I said, there's nothing really super exciting or super special going on in this house, but it's nicely decorated. It's my house. It was my first house. I put a lot of care into decorating it. I wouldn't call myself like the most creative, most amazing decorator ever. I've got a pretty keen eye when it comes to having an opinion on other people's houses, but when it comes to my own houses, I'm not nearly as creative. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this tour. I hope there was something you saw in here that was like, oh, that's a really cool idea, even though everything like I said, everything in here is fairly basic. I think the only really neat thing are the gambler or the gamer's dice rather that you get from Outlaws. So if you didn't already know that, there's a helpful piece of information. If you want some dice, go pickpocket some Outlaws, and that's it. Thanks for joining me on this tour of my house. We'll be back tomorrow with an entirely different video, but at some other point we will tour through some of my other houses as well. Thank you, and have a good time.